board members, we'll get started. I want to welcome everyone to our board meeting today. We have a little different schedule. I appreciate people accommodating that. Before we get started, I want to excuse board member Sean Newell. He has to be excused, and then board member Jenny Earl is stuck in traffic or trying to get here, so she'll be here pretty soon. So we'll get started here. Is everyone able to get on the network besides me? Okay. Well, let me know if you can't. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and can we ask our good service member, board member Scott Nilsson, to lead us in that?
Absolutely. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, board member Nilsson. Next, we'll have our board member message from board member Cindy Davis. I've got to turn. No. We're trying. There. Now you are.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. I feel like the freshman player welcoming the varsity team to the big game or something. But welcome. It's great to be here with everybody, and this is a fun opportunity. I thought, well, what will I say to welcome everyone in this 10 minutes? And immediately, I just thought about why we're here and why I'm here, and the good people involved in education and the good students. And my mind very first went to a principal who's a dear friend of mine in our school district, and I had a chance to work with her early on, and she was a consummate professional in every way, and she's recently been diagnosed with cancer. And some of these little communications about her just sort of fell into my lap. I wasn't seeking them out, but they just kind of fell into my lap. Here's one from their librarian at their school. She's an angel. I know everyone is going to want to do things for her, but honestly, she's such a private person, she won't let any of us help. She said to us, just keep the school going, because that's what she's the most nervous about. She is such a selfless person. Here's another one from PTA president. Just a kind of a casual cross exchange. She said, she replied to me just how much she loves me, exclamation point, teary faces, emojis. She is so selfless. So I've been talking with my PTA board, and we decided to silently support her by getting lavender silicone bands for all the students, staff, and PTA and parents. I ordered them today. Lavender is the general cancer color, and we will give them to the students and tell them to wear them to remind them of her and all the amazing things she does for our school. And last one was from a parent who said, she is the perfect example because of all of her totally selfless service. And also, we had our school community council meeting yesterday, and she was just doing her thing and being amazing, and I couldn't help it. I got all teary because here she is. She has cancer, but she's leading our meeting like everything is fine. She is awesome. This particular principal, I was told when she told her faculty that this was her situation, she said, I don't want you to worry about me because I believe in miracles, and if I don't get a miracle, then I believe that this experience is tailored just for me to become the kind of person that I want to become. And here she is in her darkest hour, still understanding servant leadership and teaching and serving. So I thought about colleagues like this who have impacted me and who are out there leading our schools in great ways. And then my mind also went to a teacher that I had as a child who really impacted me. And this one I did seek out a couple of years ago. My husband said, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, I want to find my third grade teacher. She had such an impact on me, and this is nearly 40 years later. And then, have you ever done anything where it feels like, kind of like you're walking a dog, but then the dog starts to walk you, and you're holding on the leash, and your legs are flying in the back? I mean, it just sort of snowballed. I was thinking, like, write a nice note and take it to her, and it turned into a friend of mine who's a producer at KSL. She wanted to go with me, and then I happened to read this magazine about a cake contest winner who happened to be in Provo, and he ended up being supportive because he said, oh, I had such great teachers. I want to help you find your teacher. And then I had just story after story. I could tell you how this thing just happened, but I brought it for you to watch today. And I had just moved into a new neighborhood, and the kids on the block, well, let's just say it was a little bit brutal at the time, and this teacher truly was a lifesaver for me. This will work.
The internet is super slow, so we're just
until adulthood that you can fully understand the impact of a good teacher on your life. A Utah woman recently tracked down her favorite teacher from 40 years ago to deliver this special thank you. It's Cindy Davis's birthday, and this year she wants a very special cake. But it's not actually for her.
I've wanted to thank this teacher for so many years.
It's for a teacher she hasn't seen in 40 years.
My birthday wish is to find her for her birthday, which is a day after mine.
A surprise like that definitely requires the perfect cake,
We've been collaborating back and forth via email.
which the mighty baker, Pete Tidwell, was happy to create.
The bottom tier is going to have the crayons around the bottom with some of those characteristics and things that describe your teacher.
Caring, lovely, rescuer,
She really came at a pivotal time for me.
happy, perceptive, influencer,
I was really just pretty alone and isolated. I
dedicated, skilled, facilitator.
feel like she kind of just saved me in so many ways.
During the third grade, Cindy experienced lots of transitions.
My mother remarried that year prior to third grade, and we moved to this brand new school and brand new neighborhood.
New family, new school, and no friends except for her teacher, Miss Foote.
She was really the reason that I wanted to get up in the morning and go to school every day.
And she was the reason Cindy became a teacher, a principal, and now trains future teachers at UVU.
The one thing we can always do is try to be a bright spot for everyone that we interact with. That's what I experienced in Miss Foote's classroom. That's what I always wanted to try to create with my own students.
The day of the big surprise, Cindy sees the cake for the first time.
Oh, I love it! It's perfect!
A few jitters, but mostly excitement. Remember, she hasn't seen this teacher since 1978.
Okay. I've been nervous for a week and a half, but now today, now that we're just right almost on the doorstep, I'm just so excited. I hope I just want her to know was a great teacher.
You guys are right on time.
Hello.
Miss Foote,
Yes.
you probably don't remember me, and you're expecting Catherine, and she's here too. My name's Cindy. I was in your third grade class.
I remember you. Your face, yeah. You've suddenly shrunk into an 8-year-old.
I was in your class in 1978.
Lots of happy tears at this reunion.
So all throughout my career, I have remembered you and thought about you and just thought about what a great teacher you were to me. And really, it was a difficult year for me socially, and you helped me make a friend, and you made me want to get up in the morning and come to school every day, and so I've tried to pay it forward.
Like all teachers, Miss Foote faced plenty of hard days in the classroom, but
Oh, you don't know what this means to me.
Thank you.
As a teacher, this is everything. This is what we want. That we made some kind of impression. Somehow you succeeded in a small way, and that made up for everything else, the hard days and, all the time we put in.
and for one of her students to return to say thank you,
So proud of her. Just so proud of her.
it's the best birthday gift this teacher could have ever received.
Every person I've talked to about this story says, oh, I had one of those teachers. I think almost all of us had one of those teachers.
Yeah.
So
It's a
great.
good-looking cake, too.
Wow, what a great story. It triggers the best teachers in your life.
Yep.
And the influence they had on you. So, way to go. Great.
All
story.
right.
Well, I just, I share that not because I feel like I can take any kind of credit for any of that happened. Like I said, it sort of snowballed and took a life of its own without me, and I just held on for that ride. But I really think that teachers like that are pivotal, and they're everywhere in our schools. And I guess that's one of the reasons that I'm here. And one of the reasons that we do what we do is that we hope that we can be supportive of what they do so that they can turn around and make a difference for all the 8-year-old boys and girls out there who really need it, and many more. And so I feel really privileged to be able to rub shoulders with you and be a part of that work with you and all of you out in this room too, who come all the time and I know are engaged in education and care about what happens with the students in our state. So thanks.
Thank you, Board Member Davis. Maybe this is a good time to maybe look at that artwork over there while I grab a Kleenex. You know, there's a lot of passion that people have on this board, and this past month, there's been a lot of passion on the Hill, too, of trying to do what's best for students and teachers and that, and I really appreciate that in this board, all the passion that you board members have. So thank you for that board member message. We'll get our composure back, and here we go. Next is employee recognition. We'll start with the superintendent. Are you going to go first on the employee of the month?
I would really like to.
Now let me catch up here. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair Huntsman. I think I will hold off in recognizing our employee of the month until next month. She's out ill today.
Okay.
And I want you to meet her. She's just stellar. She works over in teaching and learning and is amazing. So I'd like to bring her before this body, if that's all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we'll have Karen Heaton. Do you have a few new employees here, I presume?
Good morning, Karen Heaton with Human Resources, and we have many new employees this month to introduce.
So hey, Daniel Villanova, working in the internal audit team as an intern, finishing my master's in PA at BYU. Super excited to be here.
Ian Fitch, I am down with internal audit. I am working on the school fees project, and I am coming over here from CR England.
I'm Daniel Davis. I am a financial auditor and a CPA, and I was previously employed with the Utah State Tax Commission.
Samuel Allen. I am in the internal audit, and I'm still finishing my MPA at BYU, and just came over from the BYU Educator Preparation Program.
Hi, I'm Matthew Barrett, and I'm working with school finance. I'm an auditor, and I'm over the school construction, and I came from Zions Bank.
Okay, thank you for joining USB. Yeah, thank you. Next, we'd like to invite Kathy Jensen, our education specialist, to come up and handle the acknowledgement of our student artwork.
Good morning, Board. Thank you for this opportunity. Each one of you should have received in your packet of materials the annual catalog of the high school art show. I have marked in my catalog the pieces that were purchased by the board. We had 4 who participated in the selection of those pieces: Chair Huntsman, members Reby, Cummins, and Cannon participated in the selection, and Carol. Sorry, Carol. Thank you. Not Reby. It was Carol. My apologies. Thank you, Carol. It was really fun to go through the museum with the board members and Chair Huntsman and see their reaction and see which pieces they were drawn to. I have those marked here, and there is one more thing about the high school art show that you might be interested in. KUED, just in the last few weeks, has done a documentary about the Utah High School Art Show through the Springville Museum of Art and our own professional outreach program in the schools. You can view that short, less than 10-minute documentary at kued.org/community. And I can get that to Lorraine if you're interested in seeing that. So in the room on the east wall, we have some penguin families, and these were done by first grade students at Copper Hills Elementary in the Granite School District. They studied both the science of families and how offspring may or may not look exactly like parents. And then as far as art, little first graders took the opportunity to draw and cut and paste, and you can see what special skills that might take. Also on the east wall from Lake Ridge in Granite School District are watercolors. This too had a situation of very fine motor skills and also learning to work with watercolors so that you see that the colors stay crisp, or in some places they get a little muddy and run into each other. So that's the skills that they worked on art-wise. We have some mobiles hanging that were inspired by students at Fox Hills Elementary. They were studying the water cycle and also the artwork of Chihuly. And so they used their learning about water cycle to make their mobiles in the form of Chihuly artwork. And then we have some erosion things from Copper Hills, where they did 3 drawings of some sort of landform and showing the effects of erosion. It's really sad to see the house fall into the water, isn't it? And we know that that happened in our very state not too many years ago. They experimented with different materials, crayons, oil pastels, pencil, and then, very lastly, they covered their work with some fine sand. We have some Egyptian from the 6th graders. They studied Egyptian culture. They studied hieroglyphs, and from the hieroglyphs, they learned what the alphabet might be, and they made their own creation in cartouche relief sculptures of their own name. So that's what they have done. And on the back wall, the students on the back wall are from Mount Logan Middle School. They did pencil still lifes, and they are 6th and 7th graders in art class. So again, that link to the KUED thing is kued.org/community if you're interested in seeing that. And I have a catalog that has the ones marked that we purchased. We tried to purchase a couple more. One was for a grandma, and the student wasn't going to let go of it. And another was a self-portrait that the student also wanted to keep for themselves. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to our education highlight, and we'd invite Kathleen Britton to come up. She's the Director of Child Nutrition Programs. And any others that you want to bring up and introduce.
Welcome. I hope everybody grabbed the breakfast this morning that we left out by the boardroom, administrative conference room.
Thank you very much. It was very good.
I'd like to also welcome Amanda Nill. She is a child nutrition specialist here at the agency, and her focus is breakfast. And then we also have Kim Loveland, who is the schools coordinator for the agency. So we're going to start you off with a video that Amanda had worked with to Mountain View Elementary up in Box Elder School District about alternative different styles of breakfast.
Good morning, Mustangs. Are you guys ready for breakfast? Ready to get under 5 minutes? Okay, let's see if we can do it. Ready, set, here we go.
You know, we're trying to move schooling towards a student-centered philosophy, and really, if my job is to make sure that those kids are ready in the classrooms to learn, then I have to make sure some of these needs are met, the ones that I can control.
And what we know is that hunger is a barrier to learning. We can all relate to being hungry, and it is hard to focus on much else. Children come to school hungry for a number of reasons, and it may just be that the household is experiencing food insecurity, so they don't have the resources necessary to provide a nutritious breakfast. But it can also just be that it was a chaotic morning, and things didn't come together the way they should have, and your child ends up hungry at school. But if they have breakfast in the classroom, you know that they are going to be provided, or at least have the opportunity to eat a nutritious breakfast.
So we explored this idea of what breakfast after the bell was. Amy went and looked at a couple of different schools to see what that would look like. She brought those ideas back to me. We chatted about it, and we talked to our teachers about it. What would that look like?
Well, I think anytime you do something new and change is a little bit scary, and honestly I was a little bit stressed, you know, like how are we going to execute this and how is it going to play out? But I think honestly, if you can get everybody on board and be organized, it runs very smoothly.
And I was a little concerned when we were starting with the breakfast program. I didn't know how I'd be able to do that with kindergarten. I imagined the mess and all that sort of thing.
So that was a big red flag for my teachers, is what are we going to do? Because already our classrooms are busy places. How do we keep them clean and ready to learn? So we talked through some menu options. What would that look like? We also looked at the other concern the teachers had was that time that it takes to eat breakfast.
The child nutrition program assists educators and supports students in getting an education. And breakfast in the classroom is a huge boost to students' school day. It gives them energy, focus, they're able to stay on task, and it eliminates a lot of behavioral problems.
We have started feeding 150 more kids breakfast, and our behavior referrals have almost disappeared.
Everyone has the opportunity to eat. They don't always eat everything, but nobody complains to me all morning that they're hungry. And it really has gone a lot faster once we got into it. It doesn't take that much time to actually do the breakfast. I'm still getting some morning things done. I was always doing roll and having kids do things at the smart board and show and tell, and I can do show and tell in the middle of breakfast time.
It's honestly gone a lot smoother than I anticipated. And once we got in the routine, it's not been stressful. And actually, a lot of my ladies say they like it better because it frees them up in the morning to do the jobs that they need to do. And so how we've set it up in our kitchen is I'm on breakfast, and I completely prepare breakfast the day before.
I've had very minimal of spills, which is normal, and you just deal with it. The garbage isn't bad. There's 6 garbage cans to empty. Takes me a lot less time. So in the long run, it was a better deal.
students have jobs now where they clean up and do things themselves, so it's helping also encourage them to take care of their own messes and clean up after themselves. So it's been wonderful.
I highly recommend it. It might not be for every school, but if you dive in and give it a shot, you might find that you love it like we do. I feel like it's going really well.
So, just like board member Cindy Davis mentioned how teachers make an influence in child's lives, so does the child nutrition program and the importance of having breakfast for every child. In the couple of slides that we have here, we're going to kind of talk about how having breakfast opportunities for these children allow them to be more successful in schools, and how it creates students be more equitable environment for all students by having something non-traditional. So the mission of the board was by letting it be incredible, equitable conditions for all student success. And so we feel that this ties right in with board missions. As you can see, there's 2 schools that we highlighted on there. One was Ronald Reagan Elementary, and I'm sorry, I can't see, what was the other one? Antheos? Ethis. And they do breakfast. They do an alternative breakfast. One does it during a reading time in the morning. Then the next slide was, here's some facts from last year, that there was 7,908,656 breakfasts were served to students, compared to where there was 28,353,587 lunches. So as you can see, we're not reaching all the students for breakfast. When schools implement an alternative breakfast options, the participation greatly increases and is up at least 70%. If we increase breakfast participation to 70% statewide, that would be additional 17,847,510 breakfasts served to the students here in Utah. This would also bring additional revenue into the food service departments to help stabilize their programs. Some of the alternative breakfast styles that we found within our state and across the nation is breakfast in the classroom, a grab-and-go kind of breakfast, and breakfast after the bell. The breakfast that we put together for you guys, you'll have a handout there that shows what is included in a breakfast for the National School Lunch Program. And all the product was from sourced locally, and we have the recipes from Weber District and Sevier and Davis School District. The muffins were from Davis Cook Chill Facility, and then the yogurt was donated by the Dairy Council here in Utah. And then our fruit was also donated by a local produce company. So, next slide. So, as you can see, anyone can lead the way, locally, state board-wise, through the state, through legislation, through state rules, by developing policy around alternative breakfast models as strategies for turnaround schools, for implementing statewide criteria for schools to provide an alternative breakfast style, or even for advocating school programs and their correlation to student success. We also brought with us today to speak about how successful different alternative breakfast styles is. From Backman Elementary, the principal is, Heather Newell, would you like to come up and just say a word or two? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me today. We implemented breakfast in the classroom at Backman 4 years ago. It was at middle of the year. I think we started right after spring break in April, so I guess it wasn't the middle of the year. Felt like it. It was a collaborative decision that we made with our staff. We went to other schools to see how they did it, and then we implemented our own program. And we've become a model for kind of along the Wasatch Front. We're in Salt Lake District, so schools from different districts and from our own district will come and see how we do it. We're a breakfast in the classroom model, so the kids come in and they're actually in their classrooms before the first bell rings. And then they've got usually about 10 to 15 minutes to eat. It also gives the teachers kind of a nice time to interact with kids in a more informal way that is harder to do in the day where we are go, go, go all the time. So it's helped our teachers build really strong relationships with our kids. It's one of the many things they do. And it has helped. We were a district turnaround school at the time. I feel like it really helped that making sure kids were fed in the morning, and we went from about 40% of our students eating breakfast to over 90% of our students eating breakfast, so it's been great. Any questions or? No? Yes? Okay.
Board Member Belknap.
Thanks, Chair. I'm interested, have you noticed the change in kids learning and the success of them when they're not hungry?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all notice that. And we've implemented a lot of things at our school, so it's hard to pinpoint one thing specifically. And I think that's a huge contributor to making sure that kids aren't hungry. We have a table that sits outside where if kids didn't get enough food, like, because it's a pretty small portion, then they can pick up an extra fruit, or they share within the classroom as well. But it has made a huge difference. We used to have snacks in the office so kids could come down and eat, and we don't need to do that anymore. And we also provide, so we provide breakfast, lunch. We have a kids cafe for after school program through the Utah Food Bank, and we have For the Kids, which is a weekend food program, and we have the Utah Food Bank. So we kind of have come out at a lot of ways to meet the needs of our students. It's in Rose Park. Yeah, not too far.
Superintendent Dixon.
Thank you, Chair Huntsman. Hi, Principal Noel. Good to see you again.
You too.
So when I visited your school and the breakfast program, one of the things that I was really struck by was observing in the classroom, and then conversing with the teachers who said that this is a time that really sets the tone for the day. Kids come in, and before this happened, it was chaotic, and they spent about 10 to 15 minutes just trying to calm kids down. Coming in before school and then transitioning in, they talked to me about how it was sort of this calm, eat breakfast, talk to their teacher. I noticed some one-on-one time. There were sort of some like little reading rainbow things. I mean, I'm sure that's not what they were, but it's what reminded me of on the screen in digital form, and some other, like a lot of really some learning opportunities that were pretty low key. And the kids, you could just kind of see them calm down. So can you kind of talk about what that has done school-wide? I was really interested in that aspect of just the way it set the tone for the whole day.
Yeah, and I should mention too, our office referrals in the morning were almost nil since we implemented this program. So before they'd line up outside, it was crazy. Teachers would come get them. There were lockers slamming. There were backpacks and coats flying everywhere. It was just like that morning, like getting ready, right? And the kids kind of coming in classroom and teachers trying to manage all of that. Now we have them all come to the gym. We have them in lines. They go through, we get 500 kids through the breakfast line in less than 8 minutes. They know the routine. They know exactly what to do. Then they all filter through the hallways, but they're calm because they've been sitting. It's well supervised in the gym before they go through. And then they filter through the hallways kind of evenly. And so it isn't that like massive kids coming in and they've already kind of gotten their wiggles out. We've started to let kids stay out a bit longer to play at recess, and so they're not sitting in the gym as long if they choose to do that, which has been nice, kind of to have that dual option. But it really does, the day starts so much calmer, and the teachers are at the doors. They can greet the kids. They always have something prepared, if it's something that they're watching, or a lot of times it's independent work that they can do. So they still use that as a learning time, but also just that those kids that need that connection in the morning, the other kids are occupied, and so you can't have that one-on-one, like, we're going to have a great day. Let me see our kids on a check-in, check-out system have that moment with their teacher to be able to interact and kind of set that day off right. And it's made a huge difference in again, a lot of things we've done to reduce office referrals, and that's a huge part of it, especially in the morning. So, yeah.
Board Member Linda Hanson.
Question. I visited a school yesterday, and I was surprised how many parents came with their kids to eat school breakfast. Do you have that happening too?
We have some that come in, they don't eat breakfast with them, and that was a shift that was hard because we used to have parents that would come sit with their kids, and that we don't have room for 500 kids and their parents in the gym in the morning. So but we also don't want to push parents out. And recognizing that we kind of had to make a balance there. And so the parents will come in and they'll watch their kids, or they'll stand with them until they go through the line. So that's something that we're working out in the process of all of this. So yeah, we like to welcome parents in our buildings always.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Showing seat number 36, but I think that's Board Member Lear. Is that you?
It is. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I didn't want to grill you or belabor this too much, but I have a number of friends who teach in lower income schools, and they've been the ones buying the granola bars and the muffins and cheese and things like that. And I wondered if you've just anecdotally heard if that is not such a burden now on teachers.
Yes, that's absolutely a huge part of it. So, and we, schools can decide whether or not we continue to provide breakfast after the tardy bell rings, and we have it till about 9:30 or 10, so the kids can go down and grab a breakfast and then go to class. And yes, I mean, we had kids in the office all the time, and we always had a stash. We still do, but rarely do we need it, and oftentimes it's a couple things from the breakfast that day that we have in the fridge. So yeah, it really has made a huge difference.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
And
It's a
thanks
great
for
program.
supporting this, and any kind of change like that I know is kind of complicated
Yeah.
and adds to your the things you have to do. So I really appreciate that you're willing to do that.
Sure. Yeah. And it's always change, and that's always hard for people. But once we kind of got the hang of it and we figured out our own system, it's been great, and it's been really fun to help other schools implement it as well.
Thanks.
So yeah.
Do you have more to your presentation?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Just one more slide, and then well, go ahead. Do you have the slide? Oh, that's it. I guess that's it. Any questions for me or my team? And I just would like to acknowledge these two wonderful ladies that really helped push all this together. So,
Well, thank you. I've got one question, and that's not to dwell on the negative, because there's so many positives happening on here, but what are some of the challenges that you see moving forward? Is there some hurdles before you that you see coming that's going to be kind of rough, or?
So the challenges that we run into is the change, as Principal New mentioned, that principals are leery about doing something like this and how beneficial it will be, because they feel it will take teaching time away from the students. And so Mountain View Elementary, when he started it, he had a lot of pushback from his teachers, and he gave it a try, and now the teachers have all turned around and said, wow, this really does help. So it's just change itself to get people to understand that traditional breakfast isn't always the best option anymore than what we have available, and all the different other options they can do to help kids get a nutritious meal, and then they can learn better. It helps them mentally. It helps them focus.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any questions, comments? Thank you for the grab and go.
Thank you.
It's very delightful and well-timed, and appreciate you. Thank you.
Nice breakfast.
She said her eye was not changing because there's all sorts of